people of the internet, my name is Timid and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. I hope you've all had a lovely day so far. In today's video we're going to be doing a decently long speed build, so I'd recommend getting snacks and water. Hydrate, please. But anyway, we're doing a speed build of a large countryside house, centering mostly around the cottage living pack. I decided to go about this build in a very different way than I normally do. I normally do the exterior, the interior, and then the garden. However, I decided to start the exterior and the garden at the same time, finish the exterior, then finish the garden, because I didn't go into this build with a plan and I had essentially completely winged it. I found that most of the inspiration came to me with the garden, so I decided to do that bit first, and then base the interior around that. Also, for that reason, I think I'm going to talk a little bit about the build slightly later on, and I'll talk about the other random stuff now. I apologise for the absolute mess of an intro that was. It's 5 AM, I'm 4 Red Bulls and 3 Monsters deep, and I've been doing YouTube stuff for nearly 20 hours now. So I've got a little life update. I kinda bought a house. So if you follow me on Twitch, you'll probably already know this. However, I have been in the house buying process for the past 8 months or so, and everything finally finalised, and this is my first video in my new house. It's kind of really weird moving out of the city into a more rural location. I love it so much. It's such a beautiful place and everything is a lot less loud and busy and chaotic, but it's weird not having everything right on my doorstep. It's gonna take a long time to adjust to the new sort of lifestyle, but also the fact that I feel like an actual adult. Like, I own a home, and I'm engaged, and I'm doing adult stuff like going to work and driving, but I every so often have this small crisis about the fact that I am indeed a tax-paying adult and it feels like yesterday I was in school doing my GCSEs. I think that's why I like The Sims so much. I can escape from the real world, sit in my office, build a cute house, or cause absolute chaos and commit a lot of arson and murder. But that's beside the point. Anyways, Talking about chaos, there is a new expansion pack coming out, like, really soon, and all I'm gonna say is Lord help my Sims. The pack is all about fairies, but I'm gonna ignore that for a second. There is a feature now where you can make Sims sleep on the ground outside and forage for their food, and if you've ever watched my channel before, you know that I'm absolutely gonna abuse the crap out of that. Expect lots of chaotic videos with new ways of torturing my Sims in the coming months. I should probably talk a little bit about the build now. I've rambled on for long enough. So I wanted to build something semi-cottagecore before the Enchanted by Nature pack comes out, partly because I just really want to pair the cottage living pack and the new pack together to see how they go, partly because I really want to pair cottage living and the new pack together to see how they go, and partly because I just really miss building in this style. I don't think I've ever built in this style on YouTube or Twitch before, so it's easily been 3 or so years since I've played with farming. Fun side note, cottage living was actually the first expansion pack I owned. I downloaded The Sims 4 when it became free to play, and my sister was also really into The Sims. So for my birthday or Christmas or something like that, she bought me the pack. There was this deal, I don't know if it still exists, but you could bundle packs and get 1 expansion, 1 game pack, and 1 stuff pack, I believe. So I got the most random assortment of packs possible, and I asked for cottage living, Realm of Magic, and the movie Hangout stuff. I mean, she bought them for me, but she absolutely judged my random choice in packs, but I was happy. That being said, my first few builds were absolutely atrocious with these packs. I remember my first quote-unquote build. I lived in Crypt Cabana, I married Katrina Caliente, and I wanted to make the house bigger, so I copied and pasted floors, and I added ladders because I couldn't figure out how stairs worked. I couldn't figure out how to cook, so I ended up surviving off vats of mac and cheese that I made in the cauldron from the Realm of Magic pack. Also, the best part is I couldn't find the button to make roofs, so there was no roof at all. Not even like a flat roof, there was just no roof. Maybe I should do a video touring my horrendous first builds. If you guys would want to see them, let me know in the comments. Well, that was a huge side note, and I'm sorry for that. I'm mostly excited about the new pack. However, I have some concerns. My first concern is that the build buy mode is going to be too much like cottage living. I definitely see some differences in the trailer, but I also see a lot of similarities. I think I won't be able to tell until I've actually got to play with the pack. My second concern is if it's going to break my game. Now, I've not had a great time with expansions recently. For Rent just objectively doesn't work. It crashed my computer more than 3 times in one recording session, and it made my sim bug out so much that she froze and I couldn't move her, and I couldn't even reset her with cheats. She ended up freezing to death because she was in the snow and I couldn't get her inside. I had to quit my game without saving to get her back, but every time I travelled or switched household, I would get a notification saying that Timmy has died and I need to choose what to do with the items in her inventory. I stopped trying to play For Rent that day. Lovestruck was mostly fine, apart from the fact that my sims are now incestuous. I have a legacy series where people are having love meters with their in-laws and their ancestors, and it's really weird, and they won't stop doing it no matter how much I reset the love meter. Lovestruck is fine apart from the fact that my sims are either constantly horny or keep divorcing without me telling them to. Life and Death was an absolute sham. The first 2 weeks of the pack being out, I couldn't save my game at all. It definitely got better after that, but it's still quite glitchy, and pretty much all of the time when my ghosts woohoo inside objects, they get stuck there forever. Business and Hobbies is great, can't complain about it at all. I've had no issues with it so far. However, I'm slightly worried that the fairy pack is going to be insanely buggy, or break my game, or crash my computer, or write off my PC entirely. That, I guess we'll have to find out when the pack comes out. My sort of biggest concern is how the fairies will work though. Now, I am slightly pre-recording this video, so the gameplay trailer may have come out by the time this video does, but currently, only the initial trailer has been released. My questions may have been answered, and if they have, I'll pin a comment in the comment section. That being said, The Sims doesn't have a great track record with occults and expansion packs. Like, spellcasters, vampires and werewolves are great. They came in game packs and they have skill points, aspirations and skill trees that go with them, and there's actually a point to playing with these occults. Whereas with the occults and expansions, there kind of isn't. Playing as an alien objectively sucks. You get bullied by other Sims when they find out you're an alien. And I mean, having cool coloured skin and a sick urn when you die is great and all. I just wish it was executed better than it was. Same with mermaids. Now, I understand the pack isn't just about mermaids, it's about living on an island, immersing yourself in the culture, and it's a very social island. It's about conservation, cleaning up the beach and the ocean, and appeasing the island spirits. It's about snorkeling and swimming and canoeing. I do really like the pack, but mermaids are basically just regular Sims with a tail. There's nothing unique or special about them. Don't get me wrong, I will absolutely continue to play with mermaids because I love mermaids in general. That doesn't mean I'm not peed off about the lack of activities for mermaids. I really hope fairies aren't the same. I hope there's an actual objective to playing as a fairy. I can't imagine the Sims team would make fairies without a skill tree or anything like that. I mean, it's one of the #1 requested packs by the Sims community, if not the most requested pack by the community. We're basically offering EA our money on a silver platter because they know that people will absolutely buy this pack just for the concept of fairies. My other concern is such a silly concern for most people, but I like to use every pack as much as possible, and I really like cross-pack gameplay and building. Most people don't have all the packs because there's over 80 DLCs for this game now. That's actually awful. However, if you don't want to pay for all the packs, just Google Anadius. You're welcome. I like using multiple packs because there aren't many packs that I would say are particularly fleshed out. For example, Get to Work is kind of a sham. Half of the build stuff is office and business furniture and the other half is alien stuff. Because they've tried to fit 2 very different themes into one pack, neither side of the pack is fleshed out enough to warrant it being an expansion pack in my opinion. They did that fairly recently with Lovestruck too. Half of the pack is luxury, leather and animal print, and the other half is colourful Latin furniture. Both are brilliant concepts, but neither of which were fleshed out enough to make the pack work on its own. I keep pairing it with City Living and the Modern Lux kit to make up for that. In my mind, a pack should be able to be your only pack and it would still feel complete. Take Business and Hobbies, for example. You could easily just have the base game and Business and Hobbies and it would be a great game. If you had the base game and Seasons, for example, I wouldn't be able to say the same thing. I'm slightly worried that the fairy pack isn't going to work on its own and you'll need to flesh it out with other packs like Realm of Magic and Cottage Living, but I'll only be able to know once the pack comes out. On a bit of a side note, I'm actually really glad that there's no kits coming out in the summer. I love and hate kits. I like the concept of them. It means console players can have some sort of custom content experience. I like that they're designed so you don't need to get all of them. You can pick and choose what you're interested in, and it's a lot smaller purchase than a game pack or an expansion pack. But I was honestly getting really overwhelmed with the amount of kits coming out. And I don't really know what's in half of them because I've not had time to sit with them individually and play them before the next one comes out. I am glad we get a little break from them this quarter, honestly. Now, I want to share some of the challenges I faced while doing this build. I honestly winged it with no plan, and there were some moments that I wasn't sure how I was going to balance the garden and the house itself, while trying to stay true to the whole cozy cottagecore vibe without making it feel cluttered, unrealistic, or just not getting the right theme full stop. But I think this pushed me in a good way. I used packs that I don't usually use, and it's sort of a good progress build. It's definitely better than when I started building, but I don't think I'm there yet either. One aspect I did really enjoy doing was experimenting with the garden. It was actually really fun designing the different plant beds, paths, and little outdoor nooks. It's honestly the part that inspired the whole build. There's something so calming and satisfying about creating that kind of peaceful outdoor space. Also, if you have no idea what I'm talking about because I've not done it in the build yet, I'm sorry, I don't watch the video as I record the voiceover. I actually did try doing that once and it went horribly. I stumble over my words so much. Like, I'm already 35 minutes into recording this voiceover, and I guess we're probably about 12 minutes into the edited video. Also, part of that is the fact that I have Tourette's. Although it is fairly mild, I'd say, I do edit a decent amount of that out of the video. I apologise, I got sidetracked. This build kind of represents my dream house for when I'm in my mid-50s. A cosy, welcoming countryside home that feels like a sanctuary from the busy world. A place where you can slow down, enjoy nature, and live simply but beautifully. That kind of vibe really sort of speaks to me, and I think it comes through in the design. Also, I feel like that's contributed to the inspiration of the video. We've been to IKEA lots recently because of the move, and we've been seeing like £7,000 kitchens, and me and Drew were both like, if we ever get rich, this is our dream kitchen. We've also been going on lots of hay fever filled picnics in the summer because we live in Wales and there's so many beautiful spots to go to, and a combination of these things sort of inspired this build. I think looking ahead, I'm really excited about the future builds. I've been thinking about starting a save file in Henford-on-Bagley, although even though I'm fairly grunge in the way that I dress and I'm heavily tattooed, deep down I'm a cottagecore girly at heart. I think building in this style makes my heart happy, so I would be so down to do a cottage living save file. Side note, I don't usually build houses this big, so trying to scale everything up without it feeling empty or awkward was definitely a learning curve. The roofing was a whole separate nightmare. I wasn't sure how high or low to make the roofs, and I'm still worried they look a bit weird from certain angles. Like, I want them to feel quaint and cozy, but also realistic for the size of the house. And that balance was hard. The interior was its own chaos. Fitting all the rooms together in a way that made sense and didn't make it feel like a maze was surprisingly difficult. Especially because there are 5 bedrooms. 4 of them are decently big. I had to really think about how to fill the space without making it repetitive. Having a central staircase and a dining room really helped with this, because I feel like having a dining room as a connecting room for everything was probably the most logical. Or at least it was in my mind, because in my childhood home, the dining room connected the kitchen, living room, the office, and the hallway. It made the most sense. Having the staircase in the middle of the house actually made the upstairs so much easier because I just had the landing and all the bedrooms sort of branched off from it. From there I could add en-suites and walk-in wardrobes and things like that. Another challenge was using some slightly odd pack combinations. Like, I used a bit of Realm of Magic, which, you know, you wouldn't normally associate with a cottage style home, but it actually ended up fitting quite nicely. I used the bookshelves because they were modular and I could fit them into a really stupid space. I was a bit nervous that the interior wouldn't match the vibe of the exterior, but I tried to tie everything together with a consistent colour palette and rustic details, and I still have no idea if I managed to pull that off. If you guys have any advice, I really appreciate it. Something I've noticed with this build, and honestly most large builds, is that building big is so much harder than building small. Like, hear me out, tiny homes are a challenge in their own right. But there's something really comforting about only needing to furnish one bedroom and one bathroom and like 5 tiles of living space. With bigger builds, you've got so much space to fill. It's not about putting in more furniture, it's about making sure the space doesn't feel empty or cluttered. And that's such a difficult balance to strike. It's also about making sure that every room has a purpose and that it all still fits within the theme and aesthetic you're going for. There's also way more walls, more windows, more decisions to make, more decor to add, and more chances to spiral into an actual identity crisis halfway through, because the vibes just aren't vibing anymore. Luckily, this has only happened twice for me in this build. But, and this is a big but, there's something so satisfying about seeing a bigger project through from start to finish. Like when you finally place that last bit of landscaping, rock or clutter item and just take a deep breath. It's such a relieving feeling. You can zoom out, look at what you've created and have a little, heck yeah, I did that moment. It's almost therapeutic. So I'm gonna be honest, building big houses is hard, like deceptively hard. It might seem easier because you've got all this space to work with, but sometimes that makes it even trickier. Trying to fill a giant living room without it feeling empty or weirdly spaced out is a whole puzzle in itself. I found what helps me a lot is rugs, coffee tables, and a comfy chair or two that fills out a random space in the middle of rooms. When it comes to the walls and the sides of big rooms, I love using bookshelves and seating options, whether that's a comfy chair or a little breakfast table, and I love using lamps and plants in the corners of rooms. Sometimes if there's a decently big corner that I need to fill, I'll make like a little book nook if you like. So there'll be usually a bookshelf or two, a comfy chair, a few plants, and a coffee table with a mug and book for decor and some string lights, and I aspire to have this in my own home. I love adding greenery in a build to make it feel somewhat more homely. Saying that, I only actually own fake plants in real life because I tried to be a plant mum. However, I got busy and it didn't work and I ended up giving my plants to my mum so she could revive them for me. Thanks, Mum! I think we should probably talk about some of the behind the scenes stuff for a little bit because these builds do take absolutely ages. A couple of months ago, we decided we were going to try posting 5 times a week, while also stupidly juggling work, university, life, and now apparently 60 hours of YouTube stuff a week. I'm running on pure adrenaline and Red Bull. I'm super lucky though because my fiance Drew has been helping me out loads. When I said that I was thinking about taking on more YouTube stuff, he asked me if he'd be okay with him doing some of the editing, and he wanted to do YouTube together. Even though he has a full-time job, he's taken on like 20 hours a week to help with the editing and content planning. He edits pretty much all of the shorts and about a quarter of the long-form videos too, and we made like a whole little routine out of it. We sit side by side in the office, either editing separate videos while chatting and watching films and stuff, or he'll edit while I build for a speed build. We have little like editing date nights where we go get a takeout, turn off the lights, light some candles, watch a film together and edit, and it's honestly been really lovely. And sometimes when I'm recording a video that I know he'll be editing, I talk to him directly because I know he'll hear it later while editing. I'll tell him that I love him or ask him if we can get Wagamama's for dinner or things like that. We started doing this a couple months ago to create a backlog of content so we'd have breathing room if needed, and I'm so glad we did because we ended up buying a house in the middle of this and now we're balancing adult life, work and this shared creative project, and it's honestly been so fun. Bit more of a personal update for anyone who's been following along. We are so close to being completely done with all the wedding planning. We have the venue, the date, the invitations have been sent out, I've got my dress, Drew has his suit, and let me tell you, that's a story in itself. So we were travelling for a friend's wedding in England, and we made it like a little holiday because England is quite far away for us. I was also doing her nails for the weddings and I had to be there at like 6 a.m. and there was no way we were starting that drive at 11 p.m. the night before. Anyway, the day after the wedding, we were just pottering about in Darlington and we happened to pass a suit shop and we just sort of popped in for inspiration. And this man tries on one suit and goes, "Yep, this is the one." Just like that. Meanwhile, I tried on about 60 wedding dresses before I found mine. So yeah, we drove home slightly stunned that we really made a big financial decision. Anyway, as for my dress, the journey was a little more chaotic. The first time I went shopping, I went alone and I tried on about 12 dresses. I only liked one, and I later realised that the only reason why I liked it was because it was the only plus size sample. Everything else was a UK sample size 6, which, let's be real, I'm not fitting into. So all of the dresses in the first store were either a size 6 or the plus size sample size, which was a size 16. Just for clarity, a UK size 6 is a US size 2 and a UK size 16 is a US size 12. So I thought I only suited satin because that was the one dress that looked nice. Everything was either digging into me or couldn't zip up. They also didn't put me in an underskirt first, so everything looked really flat and took away from my shape, so I looked a bit like a cardboard box. Then I came home and I showed the photos to Drew and he asked me to try on lace and tulle, which was originally the style that I wanted, but I thought I couldn't pull it off after trying on those dresses. So I reluctantly agreed. On shopping trip number 2, I took him with me and tried on a bunch of different styles and figured out that I love A-line dresses and I need either ivory or black because white makes me look like Casper the Friendly Ghost, champagne makes me look silly, grey makes me look like a dead Victorian lady, and blush makes me look way too much like Gru from Despicable Me. I also figured that I don't suit ball gowns, or at least white ball gowns, because I tried on 2. The first one made me look like a swan in the worst way possible, and the second one made me look like the Michelin Man. On this trip I tried on 17 dresses. Anyway, eventually we went to another store together, which was store number 3, and I tried on 15 dresses and we didn't get much closer to finding what I was looking for, although this trip made me realise I would really like a long train and an off-the-shoulder sort of strap. Trip number 4 was a fun one. I tried on 14 dresses and I found 2 that I was incredibly tied over. One was a satin dress with a beautiful long train with the off-the-shoulder sleeve that I loved. It had a zipped back but was fairly plain, so the consultant added this sort of like beaded belt thing which looked really nice. It had a matching veil which was a bonus, and the other dress was a strapless lace and tulle dress that had a fairly short train and a corset back, and the detail was beautiful. And the manager said that straps could be added very easily to the dress. Because the concept of a strapless dress terrifies me and I have no idea why. I was completely torn between them and Drew said he knew I was going to go for the lace and tulle, which, to be fair, this man knows me better than I know myself the majority of the time, especially with clothes. Like, he'll pick out a jacket in a store and go, "Tim won't like this because it's got zipped pockets," and then I'll see it and spend 15 minutes debating whether I like the rest of it enough to get over the fact that it has zipped pockets and inevitably decide that I don't like it. That's part of the reason why I took him dress shopping with me in the first place, even though it's kind of controversial. Secondly, we're vlogging our wedding, not for the internet, but just for our own memories. And he's going to be doing some of the editing for that, and he'd probably see the dress in the vlog footage. His opinion is the only opinion I care about when it comes to the dress. I know he's going to think that I look beautiful no matter what, but I wanted him to love the dress too, because it's also his day, and these are the photos that are going to be hanging up on our wall in our house. Anyway, side rant over. So we come out of the store on the 4th shopping trip, and I was so conflicted about these 2 dresses, and I wish I could merge the detail of them and combine them into the perfect dress, so I made this whole A4 document listing the pros and the cons of both dresses, comparing them like crazy. We booked another appointment for the next morning to go and try them on with a sort of fresh pair of eyes. I also made Drew go to the appointment in his wedding suit because if worse came to worse and I couldn't choose, I could go based off what looked better with his suit. I was still tied and I'd cried in front of 3 consultants and strangers in the store that were also buying wedding dresses. And I know that sounds really dramatic, I just got really overwhelmed by it all. Drew, bless him, had a thought and he asked the consultant if they had anything like the lace and tulle dress but with a bigger train. And they pulled out a bit of a wild card. It had lace and tulle, a corset back, the off-the-shoulder strap, a matching veil, and an even bigger train than the satin one did. It had everything I loved about both dresses, but the one thing that made it a bit of a wild card was the fact that it had sparkle and beading. Now, I wasn't sold on it at first because I tried on dresses previously where the beading had really irritated me. It was itchy and annoying and it completely put me off. However, because of the placement of the beading, I couldn't actually feel it, and the sparkle was very subtle. You could only see it in certain lights, and I loved that so much. When I tried it on, the consultant saw that it was very clearly the right dress for me, and I told her that I hope Drew loves it because I'm gonna be devastated if he doesn't. The consultant suggested that I should show it to him with the veil and the bouquet and the accessories, the full 9 yards. And when I came out in the dress, he cried. It was so adorable. And the shop was so amazing. Like, 3 other consultants had seen me in all of the dresses I tried there, and they said that I absolutely picked the right dress and that I looked beautiful in it. And the day before, they even let us have Subway in the shop because we'd been there for like 5 hours at this point and neither of us had eaten. Obviously, I wasn't wearing a wedding dress while eating my sandwich, but it was nice of them to let us eat in their foyer. They also let me come back later with my maid of honour and the dress so they could teach her how to do the corset back and how to properly fluff out the dress. And on top of it all, the dress that we got was literally half of our budget. They didn't try to upsell me or push a more expensive dress, even though they're working on a commission. I genuinely felt taken care of. So anyway, we bought the dress and we were allowed to take it home the same day, and we quite literally left the shop with my wedding dress in tow, and we took it to Burger King with us for lunch. Drew, bless his heart, was having a small financial panic attack while I was sat there with my burger in one hand and my wedding dress next to me, giggling like an absolute child. It was iconic. At this point, the only essentials we've really got left to sort is the cake vendor and a new makeup artist. Our original baker had to cancel and the makeup trial was a journey. I ended up with blue, pink and black eyeshadow and it creased 2 hours later, so yeah, we're changing that. But that's where we're at. Everything else is done or nearly done, and honestly, it feels surreal but super exciting. Oh, and I know my family watch my videos, so if you're related to me and watching this video, please skip the next 30 seconds. We're planning to get my dad some cufflinks, my mum a nice hat, and Drew's parents something lovely, but we've not figured that bit out yet. We've only got small details left, like we're making the favours ourselves, and we're making the table decor and things like that. But I feel like I've actually got a decent amount of time left before the wedding. Anyway, I'll get back to the build now because I have been rambling for so long and I'm so sorry. I decided to make this house have rooms that I thought people might have in sort of 750 grand houses in rural England. So I had a kitchen and pantry, the living room, but also there was another living room that you probably wouldn't have guests in, but it's more for activities such as knitting, cross-stitch and watching TV. I also added a small music room and an art room, which I pretty much exclusively used the artist studio kit for. I had the dining room with patio doors and an outdoor patio space with a chess table and some plants. Love or hate chess, it's a brilliant way to boost the logic skill in The Sims. I added 5 bedrooms upstairs, 1 main bathroom, 2 ensuites, and a sort of walk-in closet situation for the master bedroom. Also, 2 of the bedrooms have woohoo wardrobes purely because they're iconic. I really quite like the way that I planned this build as I went. I usually add basic furniture in each room before I fully furnish it, so I can decide what that room is going to be. And that also helps me choose the flooring and the wallpaper. I decided to do all the floors and walls at once rather than doing them at the same time I'm furnishing each individual room, so I could aim to make the whole house more cohesive. That way the rooms matched each other, but also the furniture matched the walls and the floorings, making the furniture between each room also match. I apologise if that made no sense. It made sense in my head. I chose to do the bedrooms with a slightly different colour and pattern scheme, but still made them match each other's vibes. I chose to do the bathroom with the sleek bathroom kit, which I know is a modern kit, but hear me out. I didn't want the bathroom to look old. I wanted it to look more like Pinterest cottagecore vibes, which I think can be achieved with the more beige swatches of that kit. The cottage living expansion doesn't necessarily come with an entire bathroom's worth of furniture, and I think using a kit was a better call here. And the cottage living bathroom stuff feels more like your nan's bathroom than really expensive detached house with multiple acres of land in England. I also have this habit of accidentally reusing the same pictures and wall decor throughout the house, so I decided to lay everything I could potentially want to use outside and take it from there, so I knew I wasn't reusing anything or accidentally copying it. I do this a lot with plants and I find that it helps quite a lot. Side note, I have absolutely no idea if I put light switches in this build. I have a tendency to forget them a lot, and even though I only built this house 2 weeks ago, I can't remember for the life of me if I added them. Also, another fun thing, I completely forgot to do one of the en-suites until I was showing Drew the entire build after I'd finished. I had to go back and do it. I also completely forgot to do terrain paint, so I had to do that too. I usually leave that till last anyway because it's so buggy and randomly deletes itself when I do the terrain before. I will say I don't actually dislike this house. There are definitely things to improve, but this has been a good learning curve and I feel like I've improved a few aspects of my building. I feel like I've improved at least a few aspects of my building with this house. I also had a lot of fun rummaging around the debug menu looking for new things that I've never noticed. On a bit of a side note, purely because I'm intrigued, does anyone else ever keep chickens and cows or llamas? I rarely use them for the off-the-grid gameplay that they were intended for. However, I just like them as pets. Especially the rainbow cow that you can get in debug. Anyways, I think we're coming close to the end of the video, so with that, what's a small win you've had this week? What's your favourite season and why? Mine's autumn. I like the colour scheme. Do you prefer working in silence or with background music? Drop an emoji that represents how your day is going. Without saying the name, describe your favourite TV show in one sentence. And what's a random fact about you that most people don't know? A random fact about me is that I'm ambidextrous, so I can write with both my left and right hands, although I tend to write more with my right hand, but I do most other things with my left. I'm better at throwing and catching with my left, I play pool with my left, I do my makeup with my left hand, and when baking, I always hand whisk stuff with my left, and all of that sort of stuff. I used to have a left-handed mouse, but in school, kids thought it was weird and I kind of got bullied out of it, and now I use a right-handed mouse. Feel free to pick one or two of those questions to answer, or pick all of them. I'd love to hear from you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the build. If you have any particular Sims builds you'd like me to try, let me know in the comments. I'll link another video of mine in the description if you kindly like to watch another. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe, but absolutely no pressure if you don't want to. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. God bless you all, lots of love, and I'll see you in the next one.